Let he who sins with some guy's arranged wife prior to their marriage cast the first stone. Genesis 6:9. I was definitely slinging rocks that summer. She and I were in a multicultural rom-com. When her dad found out, we went from You've Got Mail to Mission Impossible Rogue Relations. Trash to Piece Theater, the accidental homewrecker's guide to dating. One day we was playing pickup at this indoor gym and mad people was there watching. This bad Joan was in the crowd and she just kept staring at the homie. So in between games I made mention of it to him. He is like, yeah, that's the Joan Sia. She likes me, but I got a girl and I'm trying to be faithful. I was confused because he was one of the biggest hoes I knew and Joan was bad. Then you could see the light bulb go off over top of his head. He was like, yo, do me a favor. You holler at her for me. She clearly likes tall dudes, so help me out. I put my game down quite flat and got her number. I waited the mandatory 48 hours before calling her. She let me know from the rip that she was actually at the games because she liked my homie. And I still had nary a to offer. The first few conversations were awkward as hell. She kept talking about him. And I was just sitting there patient as hell waiting for my charm to take over. And it did. We met out and made out and never had a single conversation about homie again. One conversation we did have though was about her being Indian and how her father wasn't going to be too keen on her dating a black guy. She had a bunch of brothers too and they were getting nosy and suspicious, so we started communicating over AOL using codes and shit. And then she'd call me whenever the coast was clear. The danger of getting caught is what really started to turn her on. She used to sneak away and we'd link up all over the place and eventually back to Paridi's house where we were about to go all the way, but she stopped me at the last minute. Told me she couldn't do it. Told me her parents had arranged for her to be married. She asked me if I knew anything about arranged marriages.
I don't know shit about fuck.
I didn't even know they were still a thing. We decided to keep hooking up, but we knew we could never go all the way because, her situation. And we didn't, until we did. As our marriage got closer, we spent more and more time together. She'd sneak away when she could, and when she couldn't. She started to just not care about getting caught at all. We used to just meet out and about. Then she started asking me to just pick her up near her parents' house. I'd meet her at the Sunoco down the street from her house and we'd peel off blasting Memphis Bleak or some shit to go to Paridi's house to not have sex. Until this one time. We was doing what we normally did, but then she was like, do you have condoms?
Wait, what?
Oh yeah. She said, get them.
Say less.
I fully expected her to stop us before the peen hit the scene. And if she didn't, I was going to because that shit wasn't right. I mean, was I really okay with getting laid and sabotaged for an unwanted arranged marriage?
Pump it up, pump it up. Keep going, keep going.
We chilled and talked like we normally did. She got deep that day, started telling me how she was afraid to marry someone she'd never met. She told me the marriage was more about the two families being joined and less about the two people getting married. She was looking for ways to get out of the situation, but she knew she couldn't. I was right. She used me and the peen. She started hinting at a round two, but I felt compelled to voice how I was feeling about getting used. So I was like,
Pump it up, pump it up. Keep going, keep going.
when it was time for her to go, I was about to drop her off back at the Sunoco, but she asked me to take her to her house instead. I ended up dropping her off at the corner of her block to be safe. People definitely saw us though. And we did it a couple times, but we stopped once her future husband got to Philly. It was a hard cutoff. No goodbye, no speech, nothing. Hard cutoff. And she got married to homie. And that was that. Or so I thought. Not long after, I got a call from her, or who I thought was her, but ended up being her father. Her pop was livid. Apparently, Sia's husband found out about our sexy time eruption, so he had the marriage annulled. Sia's pop was OD mad. He ranted and started asking hella questions. I only really remember one particular exchange when he asked me about my full name and ethnicity.
Your last name seems to be Italian, but your voice sounds black.
My smartass was like, my last name is Italian and I am black, dickhead. This dude blew a gasket. He ranted and ranted. I stayed cool, which actually seemed to piss him off more. Her dad eventually calmed down a bit and invited me to meet him at the store he owned. So I went to meet her dad and her brothers, who I was convinced was planning on strolling me when I got there, but probably would get some act right when they saw how big I am. I pulled up to the store, walked in, and her dad, all of 5'4" saw my big ass, started cussing in Hindi and stormed into the back of the store. Her brothers approached me and I got into a position to fight. The oldest told me they just wanted to talk though. They asked me to sit and I was like,
Okay, but don't try anything funny.
They offered me tea and I was like,
I don't think so.
we started talking, or rather they started talking. They let me know that our actions ruined the reputation of their family. They went on, and the last thing they said is we couldn't see each other anymore. And I was about to get on my racial equity soapbox, but they meant it literally. They went on to say how they were sending Sia away since she disgraced the family. And that was that. I left. No fight, nothing. Her Papa Smurf ass dad never even came back in the room. Not sure if he saw me and realized he couldn't beat me, or if he also started visualizing this big black guy splitting his daughter like a wishbone. But either way, Minnie Baba never came back. I tried calling Sia that night, but her phone was disconnected. I emailed her, no response. They sent her away immediately. Not sure if they sent her to live with family in India or if they sent her somewhere else, but she was gone. And I never saw her again, until I did. Randomly, years later. One night I was out with my girl and a couple of friends at Chili's. As we was walking up to the restaurant, Sia was walking past looking badder than ever. She smiled at me and I looked away immediately. I ain't want none of that smoke. We got seated, and next thing I know, Sia and her homies came in and got seated across the restaurant from us, but directly in eyesight. She flirted with me across the room the entire time, bereft of all substantial fucks. They ended up leaving before we did, and she smiled at me as they walked out. My girl was like, "Was she smiling at you? Do you know her?" Nope. Wasn't smiling at me. No idea who that was. Situation started out trash and ended trash. But we had fun in the middle. Who knows what could have happened if her dad and nosy ass neighbors were cool with her dating brothers. What's wild is, this isn't the only time a father got mad at me when he found out his daughter was dating a black guy. What's worse is, the other time, the dad was black too. Thank you for watching Trash to Peace Theater. I hope you enjoyed this joint. If you're new, go catch some of the older episodes. If you want to support the channel, you can join the Patreon, drop $1 or $10 into the Cash App, or just hit the like button and leave a comment. All of the above helps.